Slip. When someone says old-timers instead of Alzheimer's, I keep the correction dangling with the uvula at the back of my throat, because the first thing I noticed when he started to slip was something we all do, when the word at the tip of your tongue comes out like whoop-de-doo or jiggery-poke, or even something more Freudian, calling water wine, or asking your date if his biological clock is ticking. Then sometimes our words don't come out at all, hunched like dust bunnies in our mouths. I'm no armchair psychiatrist, but I do believe in wish fulfillment. He'd call me a stranger's name. We'd hang on to lucid moments. I think about him aboard the ships he worked on those years ago, looking ahead to the harbor to see faces and figures waving him home, knowing one is wife, but not which one, through the haze. Glasshouse. We liked the idea of plain glass in our first house. Bowls, apothecary jars, bottles on mantels or sills. We catch ourselves wondering if all this emptiness will make us feel hungry, or in such a way we can't put a finger on, the word for it tasteless, a dead nerve. Since glass is sand, can we call this place our beach home? We wonder what our neighbors would think if our walls were see-through too. Would we be too boring to watch? Could we harbor any illusions? We can't cast stones, but maybe rip open feather pillows, the down clinging to our hair like movie snow. We talk about who will dust the glass. Will we take turns, brighten it with vinegar? Would we ever put anything inside? Newsstand flowers, waxed fruit, warped bottle caps picked up while walking the dog? And who will collect these things anyway, and will we get a dog? And if the dog smells up the house, at least the glass is odorless. We wonder if you can really shatter glass by screaming a perfect treble, or is that only for crystal? And if this is the way one of us or the dog with knobbly legs breaks any glass, what then? Turn out the lights, point a flashlight at the floor to pick up what winks back, and know for years to come, because of what we won't see, spaces we can't reach, shards from this day will plant themselves under the pads of our feet, make those keen blood blooms. As always with glass, the threat of upset, and seeming irreplaceable still. Few boxes. Randy's friends have a hard time knowing when to say when. You can't be Randy's friend otherwise. When he decided to move cross-country, he called over everyone he knew. He wanted us to buy what he wouldn't take with him. He loudly introduced guests as they walked through the front door, his enunciation having the effect of seeing your name in calligraphy for the first time. The theme was five and dime, all the girls in little black dresses, vying to be Holly-go-lightly. I wore a gray felt hat to spruce up work regulation dungarees. There were stacks of books, pages marked with whatever he was closest to in reading, a lollipop stick chewed to stalagmite, a deli counter number. There was a skirmish over the pen with a gorilla on top for the trick it could do. Randy and I once watched 4 versions of King Kong in one sitting. It was hardest to find someone to take the cat, the scruff of its neck always clumped like eyelashes fresh from crying. The more we wanted to buy things, the less willing he was to sell them. There was no wine or beer, just back of the cupboard Kool-Aid. The other theme was potluck. What I wanted to buy in the end wasn't for sale. The day of Randy's move, we meant to go out for breakfast. He repacked instead, leaving another few boxes behind. We met in front of his house with coffee and styrofoam take-out cups. Whenever I say met, I want to replace it with meant, the way we do. We meant with coffee cups, and I stood on the walkway, waving until he drove out of sight. 6 workdays. Begin with exhalation, somewhere between a runner's pant and a sigh, between a low D held on the clarinet and a sneeze, blowing up balloons and puffing bangs out of your eyes. This breath is the first spread of space where none was before. Fine linen unfurled for a picnic. The man on the bus sitting with his knees apart, thighs like a wishbone. The stillness beneath an umbrella. Suspend the world here, a drop of boiling candy set in a glass of cold water. Make the first light, a struck match, a flashing neon sign, the glowing wake of comb jellies and corals. The water divide. Curdle some to make clouds that scull across the blue horizon. Set aside some part for the slow, low rolling fog. Play with in-between. Sleet and thunder, snowflake one-offs, shivery needle lace, rainbows, repetitive prisms. Upwards, steam columns and the invisible flight of droplets from a swimmer's skin. Separate sloshing waves, fine spray a pop can makes when you open it, whirlpools and tides, undertow and bubbles. Air should be thick enough to hold in perfumes. Slow down the click and flutter of an Asian fan. Be to the skin like a kiss held in space. Press a rock into the center like the pea in king's cake or the jade hearts Aztecs set in statues. Fly over cresting waves, sink boulders for sea caves, skip stones to sink as islands. Part land with rivers to fill the bellies of lakes, spread mud flats and topsoil, swamps and tar pits. Make quicksand muffle while the desert dunes hum and sing. Shove slabs into mountains, coax clay into memory, toss sand into everything. Sow algae in lawns, vines and twin flowers, build fine parasols on seeds to carve into wind. Hang the sun, a yoke is anchored by transparent chalazi, in pearl sheen wash everything. Close the day with tones of poppies, pink hyacinth. In the black sky, make a snowy moon. String stars like patio lanterns, fragments of broken glass, dust. Some unhinge in space, dragons blazing in quick arcs. Planets can be strung like baubles, terrestrials, Jovians. The Milky Way lies like petals afloat in a road puddle, the North Star a root. Northern lights like genies, smokeless in a harvest sky, fluid as the wishes you release this time of day. Cup between your palms a grape stalk, dream it to bone, flood rivulets, the circulatory system, stretch heart chambers, twitching muscle, skin, sculpt gills, comb scales as jeweled armor, feathers knit by hook and eye. Set fish to tail stroke in schools, pitch birds like wedding rice. The sailfin and loon slip through surfaces, hover the border. Snug eggs in jelly, nests that honeycomb the cliff face, froth in reeds. Spill intent, dark creeping pools of squid, leech, eel. Design protection, spines, beaks, a crawling train of plated lobsters. Compose for whales, fine-clawed wrens, clams, sea stars, quiet parts. Start the day with spiders marking travel lines in webs, hanging with their legs folded. In negative space, place antlers between branches, thread fur onto hide, thick for bears, dandelion wisps for rabbits, combing color, stripes, dots, tuck among stalactites, bats. Fill forests with yips, snorts, a stampede of hooves and claws. Weave skin that's bare, camouflage, toxic, blushing. Underground moles, dug worms, scatter flocks of gnats, pinch dragonflies to toss as darts, nestle mice and foxes in holes, shell centipedes, snails and turtles, whatever's left to make. What remains is rest, the trick of seasons and perennial flower beds, silence and deferring. Make a soft lampshade, the glow of a chrysalis, fallow fields and drought. Place in weekend retreats and long bus trips, chamomile and yawning. Let the body ache so much you can't remember falling asleep. Two can play. The only game in town are games afoot. Roll up your sleeves to see who rolls with the punches, down for the count, counting down while the little ones dart hide so tough it bends the pin for the dizzy tacker of tails. Heads toss the odd man out, a penalty for traveling back to square one. I might sit this one out. The objects to stay in, be it, beat it, the clock counting down snakes and up ladders, or was it Shoots, the gun in the observatory, Miss Scarlet dressed as Lady Luck, rooting for the underdog, double dog daring while low-blowing smoke at the dice. They're loaded too. Dodge that bullet, put a hustle on, the two-sided coin flip, card up your sleeve, ace in the hole, a shady deal, who's on deck? No matter who wins, it's how you play, like a good sport, spit shake, carry the day, the trophy, shiningly. Wrenches. The city burns. The storm unfastens everyone. No talk of mercy. Your men have mutinied, the skiff won't hold. Damselflies rock above the bay, wings the watery skin they were born through. Inoculated against touch, shorelines hover, silhouettes on the scrim. Blue hills, seen only certain days, churn on the horizon. Shadows nesting in snow, known for giving the slip. How your fingertips can feel what isn't there. Standing between trees so tall, all that's left is listening. What sounds like hermit thrush song, half playground swing, half that trick with a champagne flute, running a finger around the lilting rim, the gate home closing tight. When your family sees you, they'll try to explain. After the break-in, something always felt out of place. Detonating like a swarm of sewing pins dropped to the floor, impact point traceable, but never all the silver bodies. The way your face has changed.